Anybody want one?
Well, we see what kind of meeting this is going to be. Yes. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Burke County Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting for Tuesday, August 7th, 2018. All of our commissioners are present, county manager, finance director, clerk, and attorney. So everybody's accounted for. Let me ask you to silence your mobile devices, turn those to vibrate if you will, and remind you to come to the table in front of us to present, and be sure to turn the microphone on so that everybody can hear you and know what's going on. All right, gentlemen, have item number 2, approval of the agenda. You should have received the agenda in advance, and note the addition of consent item number 19, dissolution and ratification of the Burke County Narcotics Task Force, and removal of closed session item. With those notations, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda. Thank you, Maynard. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. All right, presentations today comes from NCDOT roadside cleanup presentation. We'll recognize Jeff Waite and Josh Mashburn. You guys come on up. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. My name is Jeff Wade. I'm the Division 13 Roadside Environmental Engineer. I've been asked to come and give a brief update on NCDOT litter programs. I'll start off concentrating primarily on our Adopt a Highway program, but then discuss some of the other programs we offer and delve into our contract litter pickup as well. So I've got some information, a little bit of data to share, and then in the end I'll be happy to answer any questions that anybody might have. First of all, let me start by saying litter is a significant problem throughout the state. By no means is it isolated to Burke County. This is the 4th meeting such as this that I've had within the division, meeting with different county boards discussing the problem with litter and the efforts being made to address it. So that being said, I'll discuss our Adopt a Highway program. Most of you are probably familiar with it. It's a joint effort between community volunteers and the DOT to decrease the amount of litter on the roadside. I believe Kay had invited any of the Burke County Adopt a Highway volunteers to attend the meeting. I would like to take a moment to recognize them if they are. Anyone did show up who's an Adopt a Highway volunteer.
Any volunteers here?
All right, we've got a couple. Thank you guys for all the work you do. Also would like to recognize Mr. Josh Mashburn. He is the Burke County Maintenance Engineer with DOT, and also Chris Guffey, who couldn't be here, who is our District Engineer. A few things I get asked frequently about Adopt a Highway program is how much does it cost? There is no fee associated with it. These volunteers are providing us a service, so we don't charge them a thing. We welcome them and appreciate all the help they give us. We do ask that the volunteers commit to a 4-year agreement. With that agreement, we ask that they adopt a 2-mile section of roadway. We're not sticklers on that 2 mile. If you've got a 1.5 mile road you want to adopt, by all means, we'll work with you to get that set up for you. We do review the roads, make sure they're not already adopted by another organizations, review them for safety, make sure they are in fact a DOT state maintained road upon application. We do require a minimum of 4 litter pickups per year from the groups. We provide bags, vests, and gloves for the groups. I have those in my office, which is located in Nashville. Josh also has some in the county maintenance office. So anytime a group is ready to do a pickup, all they have to do is contact us, swing by, and we'll provide the bags, the vests, and the gloves for them to do the pickups. Also, we installed the Adopt a Highway signs recognizing the volunteers at both ends of the adopted section. I'm sure you're familiar with those. And we do provide some safety training because obviously safety is a top priority with the DOT. That includes a safety video that is available online. And again, like I said, we provide the safety vests and do require participants to be a minimum of 12 years old, and anyone under 18 has to be accompanied by an adult. We also encourage recycling. If you're familiar with our orange Adopt a Highway bags, those bags are actually reversible. You turn them inside out and they're blue on the other side, and you put all your recyclables in there. So the bags are multi-purpose. Once a group completes a pickup, we ask that they submit that report online, or they can call it in. That way we keep track of when the pickups occurred, how many volunteers participated, how many bags of trash were picked up, and then at that time, we will schedule one of our maintenance crews to come out and remove the filled bags from the roadway. Here in Burke County, we currently have 38 active Adopt a Highway contracts. However, out of those 38, only 24 reported any pickups this previous year, 2017. A little bit of data for you from 2017 in Burke County. It was reported that 5,475 pounds was collected. That's 2.7 tons. That is an estimate. We base that on a 15 pounds per bag. Ask each group to submit how many bags they picked up, and that's how we calculate that. So 365 bags here in Burke. For comparison purposes, in Rutherford, they have 34 active contracts. 2017, they picked up 8,625 pounds, 4.3 tons, 575 bags. So a little bit more. In Mitchell, they only have 17 contracts. They picked up 247 bags. And then Madison, 21 contracts and 321 bags. So I don't see anything glaring as far as the numbers there, as far as being way high or way low. It looks to be about average compared to the number of volunteers we have and the number of pickups reported. All this information plus a lot more can be found at our Adopt a Highway website. The easiest way to get there is just to do a search for NCDOT Adopt a Highway. I can provide you with that website as well if needed. It doesn't have, unfortunately, our websites don't have nice, easy, catchy names to remember, but I can provide that information if you're unable to find it just through a simple search. We also have a new litter management website that just came out this year. Still a few kinks with that, but they're working those out. One really nice feature with that new website is there's an interactive map where you can actually zoom in on your county, zoom in on the roads, and you can see exactly which sections of roads are adopted. So that pretty much sums up our Adopt a Highway. Next thing I'll hit on is our Sponsor a Highway, which is a similar program, but it's geared primarily towards big businesses or corporations. Basically, they can sponsor a section of highway and pay a third-party company to do the litter pickup. However, they get the recognition, the sign goes up with their name on it. Currently in Division 13, we only have one Sponsor a Highway section, and that's just below the airport section that's just recently been sponsored by Hunter Subaru. If you travel to Raleigh regularly, you probably notice the ones for Johnson Lexus, Hendrick Motorsports are the ones I see when I'm down there. But that is available. If you have any corporations or big companies that might be interested in that, I'll be glad to provide them with that information. It's also available online as well. Next thing I'll hit on is our Swat a Litter Bug program. That's a program we offer where you can report online, or we have little postcards, which I brought a handful. If you see someone littering, you can take down their tag, the time and date, and you submit that online or send the card in. And what we do with that is our folks in Raleigh will send them a letter basically explaining to them that they were observed littering, gives them a lot of educational information about not littering, informs them of the potential fines. It doesn't carry any fine with it, but it just lets them know that the fines are out there, and if they were stopped or ticketed by law enforcement, what those fines would be. I don't know how well that program really works or how much participation we have because that goes through Raleigh. I have a feeling that a lot of times, though, if you send a letter to someone who's prone to littering, more than likely they're just going to throw that letter out the window. So I'm not really sure how successful that program is, but it is available. Another thing we do is we have a biannual litter sweep, and that's conducted the last 2 weeks of April and the last 2 weeks of September. And that's a time where we concentrate our internal forces and work with community organizations to concentrate efforts on litter pickup. And that'll be coming up here very soon. So if you have any organizations that want information on that, I'll be glad to give them details on that. Again, we'll be happy to provide the bags, gloves, and vests for anybody who wants to participate in litter sweep, even if they're not an Adopt a Highway group. Another thing I'd like to touch on is outreach and education. We do have plenty of promotional items, informational items, stickers, decals, temporary tattoos, all sorts of information that I'll be more than happy to share with anybody who's interested in it. If any group or organization is having any type of event where they're setting up tables, I'll be glad to come and set up our display, give out that promotional information. Any type of outreach or education we do, any involvement with schools, we're more than happy to help out any way we can, because that is one area where, in my opinion, we seem to be lagging. We are spending money as far as picking up the trash, but we're not doing a whole lot on the front end of prevention through education or outreach. So if there's any opportunities there, by all means, let me know, and I'll be glad to help out in any way I can with that. Another issue that kind of goes along with that is enforcement. Some data for you on enforcement. In 2017, within our division, there were 207 individuals charged with littering. Out of those, we only got 66 convictions. I've had discussions with law enforcement, and I totally understand that littering is a low priority when they've got all these other crimes to worry about. And I also understand that when a marked police car is falling behind somebody, they're probably not going to chuck their McDonald's bag out the window. So enforcement is obviously by the numbers. There's some difficulties in getting enforcement, but anything we can do to assist law enforcement, we, again, are more than happy to do so. Along those lines, also a big problem we have is unintentional littering. That's basically littering that blows out of the back of your truck. You don't purposely throw it out your window, but you got an uncovered load, those kind of things. We deal a lot with that, also with the TARP laws. So any type of help we can give on that, we'd be more than glad to as well. As I mentioned earlier, I have spoken with several other counties about this, and I would definitely encourage you, if you're looking for more information, the folks in Rutherford County have concentrated a lot of their efforts on this litter. They've set up a Facebook page. It's called Pick It Up ROCO for Rutherford County, and they've gotten a lot of community involvement. They just had an event this past weekend where they were trying to get 250 volunteers out on Saturday to pick up a section. I haven't heard the results of that, but again, we provided the equipment for that event. Any of those type of events, we were more than happy to help out. But those folks in Rutherford County, I've spoken with them numerous times, and they're more than glad to talk with anybody about things that have worked for them, also the struggles they've had. So I have that contact information as well. And then lastly, I'll touch on our contract litter pickup. You are probably aware that the legislature has made some changes as to litter pickup. We're no longer utilizing the forces of the Department of Corrections. That was a legislative decision that was based primarily on budget reasons, from what I have been told, based on getting the biggest bang for your buck. It was determined that we could get bigger bang for our buck by paying contractors. They could cover more mileage than we could get out of the Department of Corrections. So that was not a department decision, that was a legislative decision. That being said, we have improved upon our contracts because we've got an increase in funding to do so. Currently, contract litter pickup, starting this past March, we wrapped that into our mowing contract, so it's a combined contract that includes mowing and litter pickup. The main reason for that was to encourage the litter to be picked up before the mowers came through, so we're not just mowing over litter. Here in Burke County, currently I-40 is picked up on a monthly basis, and the majority, not all, but the majority of your primaries are being picked up every other month. Now, under those contracts, we are not addressing any secondary roads, and that is where we run into some problems, and that's one reason we're really pushing our Adopt a Highway program, trying to get community volunteers involved to help out with that. I do have a little bit of leeway within my contracts where there's a little bit extra mileage built in, where at the end of the month, if our contractor has finished his assigned route, there's still days left, there's still mileage left in the contract where I can send them out to address some of these complaints that we get. But other than that, at this time, we're kind of relying heavily on our Adopt a Highway volunteers and our state forces, but we're highly limited there. My unit covers the entire division, which is 7 counties. I have 25 employees. You spread them over 7 counties, that's not a lot of people to go around. So any type of help we can get from the community, from you folks, we'd be glad to have it. Any support we can give to you on the other end, more than glad to do that as well. Like I said, I have a few of the promotional items. I'll be happy to leave with you my contact information. Again, those website addresses, any of that stuff that would be beneficial.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Gentlemen, any questions for Jeff on this matter? I know we've had lots of, perhaps prior 12 months, more complaints about litter than I have had earlier. Any comments, questions?
Mr. Chairman, I had one big question which he answered during his presentation, and that was how many Adopt a Highway programs did you have? And of course, you said 38. First of all, my hands to you. Appreciate you and your programs helping keep Byrd County clean. The biggest thing I wanted to exchange, comment I wanted to exchange to you was that my wife could shoot about a dozen people every once in a while, but it seems like we live just about where people leave a fast food place and they get that hamburger or whatever they eat and swallow it down, and where the trash ends up. So and I know there's 2 programs, adopt programs. One's on Miller Bridge Road and one was on Shops Grove. I don't know if that one is still active. I haven't seen the sign lately. But anyhow, just appreciate what you're doing, and I wish we could get McDonald's, Burger King, Bojangles, all those folks to put on their bags, please do not litter. Somebody has to pick it up. It might help you some.
Yes, sir, thank you.
That's all I have.
Other comments, questions?
Just a quick question. I was just wondering, the sponsor a highway from corporations, that sounds like a promising thing. Is that just a new program and that's why you only have that one?
No, it's been around for several years, and I don't have the details on that because, again, it goes through a third party, so I don't have the price involved as far as how much they have to pay to that third party. That would be my explanation why you don't see as much, because there is a price involved with that, whereas Adopt a Highway, you're just volunteering your time. The sponsor of the highway, you're actually paying a fee to that third party that comes and conducts it. Then again, that's why it's geared toward the larger corporations that can afford that.
How are they made aware of the program? Do you know?
It's available on the website as well. I've got links to that information. I'd be glad to send that out.
Okay, thank you.
And if we can get some involvement here within the division and those signs start popping up, we'll probably get more inquiries about them. But without anybody even seeing the sponsor a highway sign, and I know the one we've got is by no means convenient to your location. It's on the border of us in Division 14 below the airport, but at least it's a start. So.
Does the department itself do any enforcement? Are you relying on law enforcement to?
No, sir, we have no enforcement power within Department of Transportation. Now, the Department of Motor Vehicles does, which is a part of the Department of Transportation, but Department of Transportation, the maintenance unit which we fall under, does not.
Okay, you mentioned litter management website. Does that provide the community any means to, I know you mentioned the rat 'em out kind of thing. Is that part of that litter?
Yes, it's available online where they can report that through the SWAT litter bug program is what that's called.
Is there any mechanism to report, well, this particular road is littered, or?
Well, there's several ways you can do that. You can call it into any of the local office, be it the county office, the district office, or my office, or online. There is an option just on the general DOT page where you can report any problems or concerns on there.
And Madam Clerk, maybe that's something we could consider, a link on our website or something to deal with the litter,
Yes, I know a lot of counties, on their solid waste page anyway, they've linked to us and our various websites, which might be some, I don't know. I haven't visited yours to see if that's already the case, but that would be a suggestion.
And maybe we could also provide Jeff some information about some of we have a handful of roads that just seem to get more complaints, and maybe that would be something you could add to your extra day list that you could help us with
Yes, sir.
also. Any other comments?
One more question, Mr. Chairman. Jeff, do you know why we only get a 50% conviction rate in court, or less than 50%
I
conviction
do
rate?
not.
That just absolutely blows my mind that an officer can sit there and write a citation, you go to court and get less than 50% conviction rate.
I don't have the details. Those are just some numbers provided me out of Raleigh. I'd have to do a little more studying up on that. But yes, I agree with you that is alarming. With 207 charges and 66 convictions.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. This matter will be received as presentation. I'll just entertain a motion to receive. Do we need a motion to receive? It is what it is.
It'll be in the minutes.
Okay. All right. So this is just presentation only. It will not be moved forward to the regular meeting. We do appreciate you being here with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, item number 4, scheduled public hearings. This will be Community Development Zoning Map Amendment ZMA 2018-03 and public hearing. This will be presented by Scott Carpenter, our Deputy County Manager, Planning Director. Afternoon, Scott.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, board members. Pleasure to be here today. How are you, Madam Clerk? Good. I have one presentation item today, and this is a rezoning request, ZMA 2018-03. We've received a rezoning application from Kevin Stroop to rezone one parcel of land, which totals up to about 7.5 acres from its current zoning of R1 residential to R2 residential zoning district. The applicant's intention is to rezone the parcel in order to build multiple two-dwelling duplex homes on the property. So he'd be building 7 units is what he has proposed, which would be 14 units. This is not possible under the current R1 zoning. As far as the site analysis goes, the parcel is currently vacant and it does not have a 911 address, but it is located on Burkmont Road and it's across the street from Burkmont Baptist Church. The parcel is served by public water. Wastewater disposal would have to be handled by on-site septic system. The property is not located within a water supply watershed and it is within the Salem Fire District. Staff believes that the subject parcel was originally zoned R1 because of its proximity to the Mountain Glen subdivision that adjoins this to the south. The subject parcel was not considered a part of that subdivision. There are no other parcels zoned R1 in the immediate area, and we have included some maps for you all. And if you look at the existing land use map, you see that to the north is the church, which is zoned office institutional. There's also some single-family residential to the north. Over towards the east is single-family as well, and to the south is single-family, and not too far from there was the state prison. So there's a mix of land uses out here. This is basically in one of the rural areas of the county, and the predominant zoning, if you look at your current zoning map that's in your packet, shows that all the surrounding zoning is one of 3 categories: R2 residential to the east and northeast, R3 residential to the north, northwest, west, and southwest, and then office institutional that was from the correctional facility there. So the only R1, the next R1 is over half a mile away to the north of this. As far as the conformity with the comprehensive plan goes, this is falls under the Blueprint Burke Strategic Land Use Plan. It's the most recent land use plan to help guide the county in our decision-making. The plan classifies this area and surrounding areas, rural, agricultural, home business area, planning area. So that's what we zone our rural areas, and they're outside of the primary growth area and the secondary growth area where you expect to have more density, more services like water or sewer, and usually more density. So uses of land which may not be compatible within more densely populated areas are expected to exist within this planning area. The proposed rezoning to R2 district would expand the allowance for residential uses by allowing two-family dwellings or duplexes and Class A manufactured homes by right. Class A manufactured homes are double-wide homes with vinyl or hardboard siding and pitched roof with shingles. Single-wide manufactured homes would not be permitted in this zoning district. The R2 district would not permit manufactured home parks either. The R2 district could permit multifamily dwelling units as a conditional use. So conditional uses of land would have to be approved by the Burke County Board of Adjustment. The Planning Board met on June 16th, 2018 to hear the above rezoning request, and after hearing from staff, the applicant and citizens, the Planning Board made a motion to approve the rezoning request. The motion was seconded and a vote was taken, and the Planning Board voted 2-4 to approve the rezoning request. Therefore, the rezoning request failed to be approved as the motion went. We're working on our Planning Board motions to ensure that there's a second motion following those types of motions that fail, so that it would be a clear motion against something or for something, not a failed motion that's made just to help out everybody. The staff recommendation was to approve, actually, this rezoning to the R2 district. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you gentlemen might have.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Gentlemen, you've heard the information. Any questions for Scott on this item?
Scott, this is another single resident rezoning. And I wonder if this is where we get in some of this integrity question about the rezoning department. And is that the only property out there that would benefit from rezoning to 3 along with this one, is the first question. And the second question that I had was, how many units does this guy intend to build?
He would build 7, which would look like 7 houses, and they would be split into 2 units, so there'd be 14 units is what he's proposing. So when you look at density of units, it would actually look like less than, it would actually only be 1 unit that's built on each acre. So it's, it's not exactly a dense project. And some people did come out to the planning board meeting, about 8 people, and they lived in the subdivision directly to the south, and they voiced opposition to this rezoning.
Did you have anybody, I noticed that most people in your public hearing did not want it, is that correct?
Right. Most of the people who spoke were not in favor of the duplexes.
Am I to assume that's probably a good reason that your board did not approve it?
It is. They gave them mixed reasons. Some of them felt that since the neighbors didn't want it, that maybe that's the way they should go. And there was not a clear consensus exactly on why. We did ask them to clarify it after the meeting. And then another one felt that this was not in an area that we want to encourage higher densities because it was outside of our primary growth area. And then the chairman and another felt that this is appropriate because it reflects what's surrounding the area. So we had different thoughts on it.
Well, with the 7 housing, you're averaging one about an acre, I guess, for that land.
Yes,
Which
sir.
would be 2 units, but 1 per acre.
Right, right.
That's all the questions I have, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions on this matter?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, when you look at the layout of this land, how much is the offset from the corners, from the boundaries, the dwellings will be? How much?
We don't have a site plan, so I don't know where they're proposed to be, or the configuration, or the layout. I don't know if they're looking at doing a cluster of the units on a certain part of the land or not. So we can easily keep them off of the property behind them, the subdivision properties, and require buffering. Because when it comes forward, if we send it through the conditional use approval process, that's when we would require buffers. So to me, the best ordinances allow for you to do multiple types of residential subdivisions and dwellings, and the way that you protect the surrounding properties is with a simple buffer on the periphery. And I think that allows for less zoning, less restrictions, people do more with their land, but then the adjoining properties can't see it and don't feel that they're being negatively impacted.
Mr. Chairman, allow me one more. Did Mr. Stroop, the property owner, did he indicate that these houses or these units would be brick or mostly vinyl?
I don't believe so, sir.
Thank you.
I actually have kind of a layout, and there will be brick. And I don't really know how it's.
You'll work with
You'll have
Scott there.
to come over and state your name and who you are. And
I'm Kevin Stroop. And we were told by the Pete at the zoning that we could build 7, which is 14 duplexes.
right.
So I assumed 14. Well, we go to the meeting, they say, okay, you can only build 12 at this one. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So we've got the layout of the land. Here's where the sewer taps in, and we're putting 6 right there. That's pretty much the scale of where we're gonna put them and how they're gonna be laid out. If you want to check that out, that's pretty much what we have. And it's-
You can show that to the board if they would like to see it.
Okay, I
If
won't
the
pass it
chairman would
around.
like to see it.
However you want to do it.
We're not to the layout process, and so we don't approve those things during rezoning.
Scott, you mentioned that staff had recommended or was recommending approval. Can you expound on why you felt that way?
Well, we felt that the density was not very dense. We also think that a variety of products are needed with the changing times, and
Okay, hold up a minute. All right, thank you. Do we need to pass that around, or any more question on that subject? All right, go ahead, Scott.
the staff felt that it was not that dense, and that it was reflective of the area and the types of things in the area. We also believe that you have to offer a variety of products for people, to have, because of the different affordability ratios and those types of things. But basically, that's it. We just thought that it was reflective of the area and what was there. It's
And
on
this-
main roads and things.
Most, in my view of the area zoning, most everything else is R2, R3. It appears, as I think you noted in your dialogue somewhere, that the only reason that was probably R1 was because it happened to be against that subdivision,
Yes, sir.
though everything else in the area was already R2 or R3. Any other questions, comments, concerns on this item?
one other question that would really be directed more toward Kevin. When I'm looking at the duplexes, they're facing Burkemont, and there's a lot of land between Burkemont and the other subdivision. So that being said, you have no plans to build toward that subdivision. You're just going to have those 6. So that's all that's going to be allowed. Okay.
It possibly could, that was a temporary land, it possibly could go down the road going toward the bridge, they could be one unit there.
Okay, that's what I was, okay.
But as far as being down here at the other, at the, I think it's at the south side of it, where the orange car, there will be no.
I'm gonna stop you just a moment. I'm gonna have you come up here because we record these and I need you at that speaker so that there's no problem at all. That's our fault.
I'm sorry, I didn't even.
Let's get you right up there so we
I
can
wasn't even, I didn't know.
put this on the record.
I'm sorry.
Identify yourself so we'll know who you are.
Gary
You go
Strait.
ahead and sit down there, Gary.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Since I know you anyway, so.
Okay, Gary Stroop, I'm Kevin's dad. On the plan here, here's the church, here's the road coming through here. We're planning on, they first told us 7, and we were planning on maybe putting 2, one here, and then 5 up here. But now they're saying 6, and we didn't want to upset the neighbors, so we feel like I had a guy to draw these in, the length of them, and they're about 50 to 60 foot apart here. And what they are is they're duplexes with a carport in between them. We have a picture of mine. That I've got apartments. We've got a picture of them. You can see them. They're not low income. These things is going to rent for like $700, $800 a month. And it's not for low income. They're nice. Here's a picture of mine. I've got 2 different places that's got them. One, they're just different color brick and trim. The apartment is identical. Kevin's might be a little bigger. He's thinking about maybe putting 2 bathrooms in his, and they might be a little bigger than those. But other than that, but all this land's going to be just a hayfield, what it's been for years and years and years. Just cut hay off of it, except giving the apartments a backyard, and the rest of it will be a hayfield. It's, we're not doing anything to hurt the community. It's, we're not ashamed of what we're doing. It's not definite. The word got out it was low income, and I think that's why so many people come to the meeting against it, and we were shocked. Well, I didn't even go to the meeting. Kevin wasn't even going, and we wasn't worried about it, but somebody put the word out it was low income. And
Go ahead and sit down, Gary. I think there's gonna be more questions.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
But that's what started the whole thing, is people saying, oh, Kevin's gonna go out there and build a bunch of low-income apartments. Well, it'd make me upset if I thought somebody was gonna build a bunch of low-rent apartments beside my house. But,
That was the entire purpose of asking the question, were these going to be brick structures or?
they are definitely gonna be brick, yes, sir.
That certainly is upscale to what I had envisioned in my own eyes, so.
Most all of your big cities like Charlotte and Raleigh and that, they most generally do this kind of building where the duplexes are on like the main street and out in the front, and then your residential in the back. I think if you look at all the big cities, I mean, on the whole East Coast, I mean, that's a good practice to have duplexes on the frontage road, and then your residential behind that. I mean, that's done all over.
Other questions, comments?
Gary, how long have y'all owned that property?
Kevin bought it about 3 months ago, 3 to 4 months ago. Yes.
And how much actual acreage of the entire property are you gonna be using for the apartments? Do you know?
I would say 2.5 to 3 acres of it is all we'll use. The bottom part will be just like I say, left open for a hayfield.
Thank you, sir.
Other questions? All right, thank you, Scott, Gary.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Sorry to interrupt, I didn't hear.
This item will be, remain on the agenda without further objection. Thank you. All right, this brings us to item number 5, consent agenda. And we've had a request to bring one item up on the agenda, item number, help me out, Madam Clerk. What's that?
Number 1. Bob's here. For the schools. Is that the one we've only brought up?
No.
Oh, no.
Item number 11, from the Council of Governments, from the COG. We'll move item number 11 up to item 1. Tina had something she needed to attend to as quickly as she could, so Tina? Well, Bob, you're already there, sitting there, so we'll just hear you, and then we'll hear Tina after that, okay? All right. This is school construction change order number 9. And Bob, tell us what you got.
All right. Thank you for allowing me to speak today, to stand in for Mr. Setzer. Our first, for change order number 9, the first thing was to add 3 video cameras to the front entry doors for the pre-K front main entrance and the auditorium area at the school. These are face level cameras so that you can see who is buzzing into the school. At first, it was just a voice button there that you would push, but with the addition of the camera, the people in the office, folks in the office can interact with the person, and they can see who is there at the door. The second thing was the change order to the kitchen equipment. This was for, they've taken out some display cases and added in some refrigerated cold bar pieces to the kitchen equipment to make it a little bit more user-friendly for the age level of students. The third thing was to add 60 feet of drain pipe on the Alphabet Lane side of the school to help carry the water away from that side of the building. The addition of some data sleeves in the sound rooms, coach's office, cafeteria manager's office, for data, and the deletion of a couple of yard drains and the addition of a floor drain in the dumpster pad area so that water can drain away from the dumpsters there behind the school.
All right, thank you, Bob. So all of those changes are the total amount, $20,120.05, is that correct? Okay. Any questions for Bob on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I just had one. They're deleting some top counters plus a refrigerator displacement, a total of $13,788 and change. They're adding 20, but I don't, is that in there by error, or are we actually reducing that? It shows a negative on the presentations.
As to my understanding, there was a display case, a reach-in 2-shelf display case that was taken out with adding in of another piece to the actual serving bar for the students.
Well, the reason I asked that, if you take the 13 off, you come up with a 7 additional. So has that 13 been taken off already?
I think
Has
so,
it?
sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought that might be the case, but just wanted to clarify it because it's on the same presentation. Okay, that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Bob. Without further
Thank you.
objection, this item will remain on the agenda. All right, now let's hear item number 11 from Finance, Home and Community Care Block Grant, fiscal year 18-19. This will be presented by Margaret Pierce, our Deputy County Manager Finance Director, and/or Tina Miller with the COG. Afternoon, Tina.
How are you?
Well, Margaret's bowing out, huh? Okay.
She has the information. Well, there you go. This is good news. It's always fun to come and present when we have gotten increase in funding. We presented to you last month to approve the Home and Community Care Block Grant for fiscal year 2018-19. And since that time, Burke County has received an additional $43,285 to provide additional services to older adults in Burke County through the Home and Community Care Block Grant. So the new allocation total is $611,985. Of the 8 services that are provided for Burke County, all 8 of those received a portion of that increase. I can go through them if you want me to, but the Home and Community Care Block Grant Advisory Committee, which is the Burke County Council on Aging, met and allocated these increases based on the provider recommendations that they gave to the group of if they were able to, utilize funds and serve more people, take some people off the waiting list. That was our primary goal, was to try to provide services to people who were in need of it and waiting for services.
All right, thank you, Tina. Gentlemen, you've heard this information. Any questions? The breakout is in your information. Any questions for Tina on this item? All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda without objection. Thank you, Tina. All right, let's take us back up to item number 2 on the consent agenda. This comes from the clerk, appointment and removal to Adult Care and Nursing Home Committee. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to appoint Victoria Whitworth to the Adult Care and Nursing Home Community Advisory Committee to seat number 4 for the remainder of a 1-year term ending May 31st, 2019, and to remove John Smiley from the official roster and thank him for his service to the community.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, you've heard the information. Any questions on this item? Hearing none, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 3 also comes from the clerk, appointments to the Animal Advisory Board. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to appoint Alan Keller to seat number 1 to the Animal Advisory Board, pending receipt of his verification letter for a 2-year term ending July 31st, 2020, and to reappoint Amy Burnett to seat number 3 and Jeff Robinson to seat number 5 for 2-year terms ending July 31st, 2020.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions on this item? Hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda without objection. All right, item number 4 again coming from the clerk, appointments to the Industrial Revenue Bond Board. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request to reappoint our county manager, Brian Steen, to seat number 1, Sally Sandy, seat number 3, for 6-year terms ending August 31st, 2024, to reappoint Hope Hopkins, seat number 5, to complete the remainder of an unexpired term ending August 31st, 2022, to appoint Margaret Pierce, seat number 4, to complete an unexpired term ending August 31st, 2020, to appoint Jerry Lemasters to seat number 3 for a 6-year term ending August 31st, 2024, and to remove Mike Watts from the official roster and thank him for his service.
Okay, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions on this item? Hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda without objection. Item number 5, appointment to the Planning Board. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a request to remove Mr. Alam from the Burke County Planning Board due to resignation and thank him for his service, and to appoint Richard Evie to seat number 6 West to complete the remainder of his term, which is September 30th, 2018. Mr. Evie was or is currently in the seat number 7 that alternates every term from the east to the west, so we're asking to move him up, and we have reminded him to submit his appointment application.
Okay. Any question on this item? Hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda without objection. Item number 6, reappointments to the Voluntary Agriculture Board. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a request to update the Voluntary Agriculture Board. We're asking to reappoint Robert Lohman to seat number 1 and Jason Carswell to seat number 2 for the remainder of four-year terms ending August 31st, 2020, to remove Ben Crawley and Barry Clark from the roster and thank them for their service, to reappoint Doug Pitts and Bruce Sisk for four-year terms ending August 31st, 2020, to appoint Donald Chapman, seat number 6, as the Soil and Water nominee for a four-year term ending August 31st, 2020.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions on this item? Hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda without objection. Item number 7, Community Development, approval to assist in the purchase of land for the Fonta Flora State Trail. This will be presented by Scott Carpenter. Scott?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is just a brief item that required 4 years of work. But we're here now. And so what we have here is the Connect NC Bond Act earmarked funds for the purchase of lands for state trails, and the Community Development Department has been working with North Carolina State Parks to acquire necessary parcels in order to extend the Fonta Flora State Trail as well as the Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail in order to complete the loop around Lake James. The state started I started working on trying to get these parcels 4 years ago, and they are located off of Benfield Landing Road, and they actually adjoin the old Catawba River bed at the bottom. They're also known as Hemlock Springs, is where all of those parcels are located. So essentially, we're buying up most all of the vacant land in Hemlock Springs. Over here to the west, where if you look on the map, the trail comes down onto the green, that's state park land. So that's part of the Catawba lands for Lake James State Park. And this additional lands, which total up 87.113 acres, will be added to that. So the purchase price for all these lands is $747,879. Two of the landowners purchased their property while prices were high, and they did not want to take a loss on the land. So what State Parks does is they go out whenever they're purchasing land and they offer full fair market value. The Birds, Kevin and his son bought these when the market was at the height and everything was growing, and then the market, remember, sort of collapsed and the prices collapsed and the value of their properties declined as well. So they were no sales if they had to take too much of a hit. And if we wound up with a no sale, then we wouldn't be able to complete the loop around the lake. This is about the only place we could find after years of looking in order to make it back up to the family campground area at Lake James and then head east and then around the lake. So this payment for these lands would require the county to contribute $51,330 for the two parcels from the Duke CRA funds for the Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail to help purchase the lands. And we have discussed this with Duke Energy and with National Park Service as well, and they fully support this and realize this is a great bang for the bucks with the state parks kicking in. The county would like to enter into an MOA with the state parks to construct the Fonta Flora State Trail, Over Mountain Victory National Historic Trail, as has been done with other trail sections. Keep in mind that this land will have restrictions on it forever because of where the bond money comes from that identify it as the Fonta Flora State Trail. And I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, Scott. Gentlemen, you've heard the information. Any questions for Scott on this item?
Scott, how much income does the county lose from property tax on that? If you take $1 million and do the math, it'd be about $8,000 a year.
I have not figured it out, sir. So I'm not exactly sure how much we'd lose on $150,000 a year. But we hope to make it up with tourism and other things to offset any losses that additional state lands add.
But it just becomes more natural land for the park outside the trails. I mean,
Right, yes, sir.
and they won't be able to go from this line to the end of the line up here off of that trail. Is that correct, or would they?
We're not sure. So that what you're seeing is a preferred route on the map.
Right.
And so the trail might have to go up following the green all the way to the peninsula here, which is where the RV park is, Lake James Family Campground. So it might have to go there and then along the lake and then cross back again. We avoid crossings if we can, and we're in negotiations with Wallace Jackson and another property owner to split this half and half on the cost. And then Chris Daly has guaranteed easements all the way across on this route away from the lake. So it's very beneficial for a campground to have a trail like this going through it.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Other questions? Scott, this purchase, particularly the piece that goes north,
Yes, sir.
could any of that be set aside and marketed back to the public, or?
Could it be sold back to the public? It could probably be used for some things through public-private partnerships. So those would have to run through the state parks, but it wouldn't be sold back because of the connection to the bond. Are you asking, could it be sold back as private land if we go the other route? Is that what you're asking? So probably not. It would become part of the regular Lake James State Park. So what you're seeing going on at Lake James is you have Lake James State Park Catawba section, you have Lake James State Park Paddy's Creek section, and now we have Lake James State Park Linville section, which is over by the county park. So I'm not aware of other parks that have been sold off as private.
I guess my question is, maybe since the state park is involved in this and the bond monies, would that prohibit us then from doing something separately here that we might could recoup our $51,000? I guess that's kind of where I'm.
You mean for
The county.
the taxes that we would,
For even the initial purchase,
oh, that is Duke Energy money.
that is Duke Energy money.
Yes, sir. So the county actually has no money in this from general fund. Now, I could probably negotiate with the state to where this becomes Burke County property. But I didn't know if we wanted that property or not, just to add to our books. So we didn't head in that direction.
So all these funds will either be NC bond funds or Duke funds.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Other questions?
Mr. Chairman, one more. Scott, if we purchase this with the graces of Duke Power's assistance, if we don't give it to the state park, then we're responsible for maintenance and upkeep, right?
Yes, sir.
So the plan is, to piggyback what Jeff said,
And-
is to hand it over to the state park.
And one reason is there's a road running from north all the way to south that has to be maintained through the agreement, which would cost thousands of dollars a year to maintain, which I didn't want to volunteer us for. And most of it has to remain natural land anyway because of the, what the
much
bond
per
money
year
can be
did
used
you
for.
say?
I'm sorry?
How much per year did you?
It'd probably be thousands of dollars. It's a long road. It's a mile and a half.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Other questions? All right. Hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda without.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Excuse me. Item number 8, county manager request for additional deputy in the town of Hildebrand. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you may remember this was on our agenda for July. We didn't have the contract at that time, so we've placed it on the August agenda meeting, and waiting for that document. I also want to share that before the board takes action to make sure there's no issues with the town of Hildebrand about what we'd be proposing in the contract.
Okay, thank you, Brian. Any questions from Brian on this item? All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda without objection. Item number 9, County Manager, class action lawsuit regarding payments in lieu of taxes act. Brian?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, we've been notified that we qualify for participation and that we are owed money. Maybe, I think, a little less than $6,000, but it's still money that is available. All we have to do is opt into the class action suit, and I'm not aware of any kind of expenditure on the county's behalf in order to obtain that money, so I just wanted permission to go ahead and formally opt us into it.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any question on this item? County Attorney, you got anything to add?
Well, we don't have anything to lose, so joining the lawsuit in order to get a distribution of funds is always going to be a positive.
Mr. Chairman, I did have a question and a couple of comments. According to the information, it costs us no money. The thing that's a little bit puzzling about this is that I think it's page 106, item 16. The amount yet is to be determined what could be charged to us. And of course, it would come out of the proceeds before it's divided among the counties and I don't know how, I'm assuming there's a formula, Brian, that each county receives money based on whatever they participated or give in or whatever. I don't know how I'm sure it won't be equally to each county is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think it's based on the amount of federal property that's in your county and whatever the calculation figure was to derive the amount owed to you. And apparently it wasn't done properly, and that's why some other locales took this suit to federal court, and then they looked around at, well, there's a bunch of you got shorted, and if you want to opt in, come on. If not, then you've got to bring the action by yourself and share, carry the cost of that. So, I don't believe we're looking at an expenditure in order to do this. Again, they just want us to either opt in or stay out.
But it may be that the cost of the lawsuit would eat up our $5,600. Could that be possible, Mr. Attorney?
Pardon?
The cost of the lawsuit would eat into this amount that they said we might could obtain. Would that make sense?
Yeah, they will, the attorneys for the class action have to submit their fees and expenses to the court, and the court will approve what they get paid. And from the gross settlement, that will be subtracted to reach the net settlement. So everybody who's in the lawsuit will have a proportionate part of their money taken by the lawyers.
I think we want to opt in, but it'd be nice to know if certain things happen, you could opt out too, but I don't think you can.
I think
to the contract.
I think once you're in, you're in.
Yep.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any other comment? Hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 10, Finance, approval of bond for Finance Director. Margaret.
Good afternoon. According to North Carolina General Statute 159-29, the Board of Commissioners must approve the bond for the Finance Director in an amount not less than $50,000. We request that you approve the surety bond for me in the amount of $50,000.
All right, thank you, Margaret. Any question on this item? Hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Thank you, Margaret. Item number 12, haven't already heard 11. This comes from HR, ordinance amending fiscal year 18-19 budget ordinance. This will be presented by Rhonda Lee, our Human Resource Director. Afternoon, Rhonda.
Hey there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. The reason I'm before you today is because we're needing to create an ordinance to amend the budget ordinance for fiscal year 18-19. And the reason why is because in the budget ordinance, there were 5 reclasses, and those were for DSS positions. And what happened with this process is once the Board of Commissioners approves these reclasses, we have to send the same request to the state. And the state, and this is the first time this has happened since I've been here, the state denied, and Kay, I just found out before I got here, they denied the other one as well. So they denied 4 of the 5 requests. And the reason why they denied 3 of the requests was because they said that the supervisors, that the level supervisor that we were requesting needed to supervise 20 to 40 employees. And in these cases, they would not be doing that. So that's why they denied those. There was also a recommendation to change the titles of 3 community employment case managers to an income maintenance caseworker 3. And that's the one I just found out before I got here that they've denied that one as well. So what we're asking for is to have the budget ordinance, well, we actually created a budget ordinance to amend the board budget ordinance. Am I correct in saying that? Okay, thank you. And that's why we're here today, to correct that. And also to add, they were going to kind of work with us on this for one of the reclasses. They're allowing one of the social worker supervisors to go to an income maintenance supervisor 2. So that is one that we would like to add back to the amended budget ordinance. And I'll be glad to take any questions. It got kind of confusing with this, so I'll be glad to walk through any of this if anybody has questions.
All right, thank you, Wanda. So this amounts to a savings of $6205. Is that our savings, or that total savings, Rhonda?
Yeah, that's our savings for that, because they did not go through.
Okay. All right, any questions for Rhonda on this item?
Does that include the last one?
It does, because there was no change in pay. That was a lateral move. The pay grades were the same. So there is no change in that. And the recommendation for next year going forward is in the wording for the budget ordinance that we put contingent upon the approval of the state. So we won't have to do this going forward again. So.
All right, other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Rhonda. Hearing
Thank
none,
you.
this item will remain on consent
sorry,
agenda.
sorry.
Item number 13,
You'll have a public
JCPC.
hearing?
That's out of my, I don't know.
I asked Mr. Imes about that, and he indicated that he didn't think we needed one. So,
To
so
amend
one
the
has
budget
not been
ordinance?
advertised.
Okay.
Now, if you feel differently,
Well, I need to
can
do a
get
little
it.
research on that.
All right, that item then will be subject to review by the attorney. If we need to handle it differently, then we'll do so. Okay.
if somebody could let me know today, that would be great, because kind of running out of days.
Okay, JR? You heard that, didn't you?
I'll do my best.
You
I
only
don't
got,
want to get the wrath of Kay.
all right. Item 13, JCPC, approval of pass-through funding for Children's Hope Alliance Home Remedies from North Carolina Department of Public Safety. This comes from Rebecca Cloud, no, from AJ Katu. AJ, good to see you.
Oh, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. As you may remember from years past, we typically the JCPC in support of having the Children's Hope Alliance approved for their pass-through funding from the North Carolina Department of Public Safety. The department requires that they have support in the local counties, and even though Children's Hope Alliance actually works for the department in multiple counties, the money has typically come through Burke County. And so they require that our local JCPC show support for them, and that's what we're doing. So we would request that the council approve the pass-through for the 2018-19 fiscal year.
Okay, thank you, AJ. Gentlemen, you've heard this information. Any questions for AJ?
I think that's a no-brainer. It's a law. So just complying with the law.
All right, thank you, AJ. This item will remain on the consent agenda without objection. Item 14, JCPC removals to the JCPC. This will be presented also by AJ.
Thank you. We are actually asking here to inform you that our two students, members, have escaped by leaving for college. And so we would respectfully request that, therefore, that Jennifer Gilbert and Brooke Matthews be allowed to resign from their membership on the council, and to thank them for their service.
All right, thank you, AJ. Just for clarification, our information says Jalen. Is it Jalen or Jennifer?
Jaylene.
Jaylene. I thought you said Jennifer. Maybe I misheard. Any question on this side? All right, hearing none, this will remain on the consent agenda without objection. Items 15, 16, 17, 18, all from the tax department, and we'll ask Mr. Eisenhower to come forward. Danny, tax release refund report for July 2018.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. On the tax system report, we had releases in the amount of $19,194.25. We had $14,799.15 rebilled, which made a net release of $4,395.10. We've got refunds in the amount of $85.93, and then the vehicle tax, we've got refunds in the amount of $241.06.
All right, gentlemen, you've heard the tax release refund report. Any questions for Danny on this report? All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item 16, tax collection report. Danny?
A tax collection report, I'll just really go over the percents collected. Property tax, we collected 47.11% here in July. Motor vehicle tax at 10.05%, which gives us a total for the year collected of 43.41 on the budget. Delinquent tax collection budget, we're at 12.73 collected, and late list penalty at 6.91% collected.
Okay, thank you, Danny. Any question on this item? Hearing none, it'll remain on the consent agenda. Item 17, collections annual settlement report.
North Carolina General Statute 105-373 requires the tax collector to report to the governing body after July 1st and before September 1st each year what has been collected for the prior year. I won't read the whole report to you. I'm sure you have done that yourself. But these amounts include taxes paid, the unpaid amounts, motor vehicles. So I've broken this down into sections. And on the sections, you'll see that it'll say, like, from NCPTS report 401E, that's just additional information on there to know where I got the information from should you want to see it. Tax collections for the county only. We had prepayments. A prepayment is whenever we, during the fiscal year of 2017-18, we collected $24,710.53. That's considered a prepayment. Tax during the regular year, we collected $40,271,708.46. Delinquent tax collection of $594,422.03, and that gave us our total of the $40,890,841.02. Total taxes and tax-related collections, these are broken down into categories: the advertisement fee, the garnishment interest. So that gave us a total of all collected of $43,804,222.08. The tag and tax, and like I said, this is county only also. Tag and tax, we had $18,995.32 in interest. We had $4,499,988 in taxes, which gave us the total of the $4.5 million. We also, in reporting this, I give you the property taxes and other charges for all jurisdictions. And that's where we're at the $4,072,194.83. Section 4. This is broken down into the tag and tax interest, the tag and tax, vehicle fees, which City of Hickory charges $5 per vehicle, and we do have a few vehicles in the City of Hickory. Most of them are in Catawba County. Vehicle fee for City of Morganton at $20. So we have a total there collected of $1,687,861.52. So the important part is what's charged back in the delinquent taxes beyond the collections. So we have the county total and then all other jurisdictions, which gives us a total chargeback of $2,243,715.07. The part not charged back to the tax collector are the taxes that are over 10 years old. And these are not charged back because we can only collect up to 10 years old with enforced collections. Now, if somebody voluntarily pays it, we'll gladly accept it, anything older than 10 years. So you'll see here that the county not charged back is $52,128.76. Other jurisdictions, $11,251.53 for a total of $63,380.29. Section 7 goes into other things that we collect for, the beer and wine, the rental vehicles. We also collect for the City of Hickory on the rental vehicles, occupancy tax, and there we have a total of $573,652.77. The last section is Section 8, delinquent taxpayers, which is part of the report. It's broken down into the type of taxpayer. So Section 8 is business personal property taxpayers that have delinquent taxes at $46,088.27. The IND is the personal property, which is your boats, motors, manufactured homes sitting on someone else's property, at $92,747.96. Real property is your houses and land, $668,733.18. We had no delinquent public utilities or registered motor vehicles, which is under the old system. This gave us a total delinquent of $807,569.41. Like I say, all the reports are compiled using NCPTS, our tax system, and NCVTS, which is our tag and tax system by the state. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Danny. Any questions for Danny on these reports? Hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda as is. Item 18, order to collect 2018 taxes. Danny?
Yes, that's the last part of this two-part thing, and just asking you to order us to collect taxes. This gives us the legal ability to collect delinquent and current taxes.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to comment that on some of those collections due, Danny, I think it was one had 6 pages, one had about 4, and another one had 3 or 4. That was all attributed to one name. And then I noticed, and I don't know if this is a good time to ask a question or not, but the paper noted that we got 11,000 from one of those groups that I am talking about as a payment. And JR, where does that leave us? Can we still pursue to get that delinquent tax dollars in?
You mean that's more than 10 years old?
Pardon?
Or are you referring to monies that have not been collected within the last 10 years.
Yes, and they paid 11,000, just 11,000, I believe the paper quoted.
That's the recent action that you had, that we were getting ready to go to auction, they came in and paid.
Oh, well, if they have funds that are over 10 years old, you cannot collect them. That's the limitation of action. It's a 10-year statute.
Well, the paper stated, Brian, I don't.
I think he's talking about other properties that are owned by these same people. That are within the 10 years.
The paper used the word, I think, stalled the lawsuit, I believe.
Well, if it's within 10 years, we're going to get them anyway, but we're not subject to the statute of limitations until they reach the 10-year mark, so anything with under 10 years we'll still be able to collect.
As long as the county attorney has an action filed, even though it may take 11th or 12th year, as long as that action is filed, he can still legally collect those older taxes.
Right.
Okay. We didn't get the question answered, but I'll ask it another way.
Well, you're wanting him to get the rest of the properties of the same person, or they're maybe
The question was, according to the paper, that they stalled our action. And my question was, paying a little bit of money on it shouldn't really stall all our action. But we can discuss that later.
That was the individual properties that you had taken the foreclosure process to start, and when we were getting ready to foreclose for those particular properties, he came in and paid. These other properties that are in other shell names, or his name and somebody else's name, are still out there and are available to be pursued if and when the county decides to do that. Some of that's more about the property and the ability to resell it, and what the amount of taxes owed, and what, I guess, cost, and how much do we want to take on.
And any stalling on the last suit doesn't affect other properties.
Okay.
They sort of rise and fall on their own.
All right, other questions? All right. Hearing none, then item 18, order to collect taxes. I'm sure there's no opposition to that. Will remain as is. Item 19, county manager, dissolution and ratification of Burke County Narcotics Task Force. Right?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you may remember, I think it was about 2 years ago, we got the letter announcing their withdrawal from Morganton and Valdez, and they withdrew effective or on at the end of June 30th, 2017. And then we received a letter from the town of Drexel that they were going to withdraw, and their withdrawal was effective June 30th of 2018. So on July 1st, it was myself and the sheriff were the only remaining members of the drug task force. And we went ahead, Paul's next to the last day, to go ahead and take the steps to dissolve the narcotics task force and turn over all assets to Burke County. And we just need the Board of County Commissioners, since the Board of County Commissioners was a part of the establishment of the narcotics task force, to go ahead and ratify the action that the sheriff and I, as the remaining board members of the task force, took to dissolve it.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any question on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, not a question, but it would, how long has that task force been inactive?
The last section was, I guess, when you had a turnover in the sheriff's office, and it was reestablished in 1999, I believe. So it's been in operation since January 5th, 1999.
Was that one of the firms that should have been giving us yearly reports of the activity of that department?
Well, it had its board, and they had board meetings, and mostly the chiefs of police and the managers of the town, or either the county, of drug arrests, seizures, and that, and federal monies that were involved with the drug seizures. But I don't know if there was any report to the boards, the commissioners or the town councils.
So do we have a list of what was turned over to the sheriff department? Do we have an inventory list that,
There's an asset list that we've got to clean up some, because some of it was old information. I think I remember seeing a 1991 cell phone. I'm pretty sure it's gone. But the monies and the bank accounts are verifiable, and the radios, you know, they're already using those, I'm sure, with the sheriff's office. Cars, we have the inventory of the vehicles. So again, that's all been turned over to Burke County and will be used as needed or surplus through our normal surplus channels.
was all the budget used every year for that?
No, there was leftovers, I'm sure, and that would have been in the fund balance of the drug task force. Again, that all comes to Burke County, and we'll deal with that.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions, concerns?
Mr. Chairman, to go back to number 12, for the budget amendment, you won't have to have a public hearing. Section 159-12-2, or -17-2, it says that those procedures are not necessary.
Okay. So we'll leave that as is then on consent agenda, correct? All right. Thank you. Thank you, JR. All right. Item 19 will remain on the consent agenda without objection. This brings us to item number 6, items for decision. This first item comes from the sheriff, request for 3 additional school resource officers. Afternoon, Sheriff.
How you doing?
Good.
You ready for me to proceed?
Yes, sir.
All right. We were contacted by the Burke County Schools earlier this year, and with a request that they would like to have all the school resource officers be deputies. So this is their request that we add 3 school resource officers that will be deputies to replace the 3 company police officers that they had for school resource officers. We're in favor of doing that, and we provided you with some information about what it would cost for the salaries. 10 months of the year, these deputies would work with inside the schools as school resource officers. 2 months of the year, they would work in various divisions of the sheriff's office. We actually look forward to those 2 months when we're able to use those and the other deputies can take leave and so forth, especially with patrol officers. We require the lieutenants on patrol to have at least 5 deputies working. So sometimes that prevents deputies from taking vacations if we're short-staffed and so forth. So this really helps being in the summer where they can fill in those various divisions, and that's been a help to the sheriff's office.
All right. Thanks, Sheriff. Gentlemen, any questions on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I am assuming, and that's a bad thing to do sometimes, they had other officers from other companies doing this, and they are appealing to you, but I am assuming that the school board is going to reimburse us for those, since the state gave them millions of dollars to put in more safety people at schools. They're going to reimburse the county for those 3 positions. Is that correct?
I don't know how the financial part works. I mean, they will agree in this abstract to pay the cost of those deputies' salaries for 10 months a year, and the county would agree to pay for 2 months a year.
Mr. Chairman, you're having something come after the budget's already passed. We've already given them their chunk of money or what they're going to get. My personal belief is they're going to have to be able to do it on the money that you've already given them. We're not asking or recommending that we go back through and change the budget that's been adopted. The budget year, of course, goes July 1 through June 30th, and the school year when these people would come off school duty and go to the sheriff for regular service, may be a 2 or 3 week period, so you may be 1 1/2 pay periods in this current budget year. The sheriff's department with lap salaries and some other things, you may not see an actual impact in this budget year. Other than the cars, I think we just keep 3 cars that we would have surplused when we change out his fleet. The guns, the uniforms, bulletproof vests, those things, we might have to come up with some cash from somewhere to deal with that. But as far as the salaries, my thought is we aren't making a change to the school budget. We'll get through the year, but the July 1, that's when we would see, the 3 different officers' salaries that would be in our budget and really be realized in the 19-20 budget year, I believe it'll be. So, if that helps to clear up anything.
Yeah, yes, it does, but I do think for the benefit of this board and boards in the future who may revisit this, that statement or that source needs to be included in the motion that the Burke County will, and I know we don't get, you and I discussion earlier, I know we don't get every penny, but for the school months, Burke County will be reimbursed by the school system. And I think that would resolve that issue. At least we know, you're getting your money back from the school. I forgot how many, some of you may remember how many millions of dollars the state approved for extra resources at school officers. And that money ought to really come from that. That's my point.
Okay, thank you, Manny. Other questions, comments? All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the decision agenda. Item number 2, finance, purchase of 8 2018 Honda CRVs, multiple county departments. This comes from Bobby Joe Bowler. Afternoon, Bobby Joe.
Afternoon, how are you?
Good, hope you are.
I'm doing well. For the North Carolina General Statute 143-129A, any purchase over $90,000 requires formal bidding procedures be followed. Formal bids are currently being solicited for 8 2018 Honda CRV LX base package vehicles. I'm seeking prices for both with and without leather seating. A legal ad was published in the Morganton News Herald on Thursday, the 26th of July. It was also posted to the county website, and we're requesting sealed proposals be received by or before Friday, August the 10th by 10 a.m. to be considered for awarding. Staff recommendation on bid award will be made on August 21st, 2018 at the regular meeting.
All right, thank you, Bobby Joe. Any questions on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions. I do want to make 2 comments, if I may, about this, because a lot of this is brought up at the convention in Hickory for clean air and water, and part of that is vehicles. And they told how many UPS and U.S. Mail were buying electric vehicles, and those electric vehicles was saving them on vehicle upkeep and fuel $400 to $500 a month. And I forgot which trucking company it may, they're putting 100 electric big over-the-road trucks, electric, on the road this year. Some big trucking firm. So I just thought, these, if it saves you that kind of money. Of course, here's the downside of that. The government's already looking for ways, because we have been good people and we bought cars that get real good mileage and all that. They're trying to figure now how to tax you more for help roads that has nothing to do with your car. So you're good and you get penalized sometimes. But anyhow, it's something you might want to consider, if not on this investment, somewhere down the road. So look at that. I forgot which car they said, but there's a couple new cars out there that they don't have motors in them at all. That's all 100% electric. So, and I don't know, they may cost so much that they offset that $400 a month maintenance and gas expense. So But anyhow, I thought it was interesting, and it was a good time to point that out during this topic.
All right, thank you, Maynard. Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Bob Jeff.
Thank you.
This item will remain on the agenda without objection. Item 7, reports. I'll remind you to get your information to Kay if you have items that need to go in the agenda packet for our regular meeting. No other discussions, or are there other discussions at this time?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I sent out a notification to all of you with the NCACC if there's any kind of discussion matters we want to have with them or suggestions to go to the committees to change anything in the General Assembly. The forms were available online, not received anything back, but if there's anything that we need to put together, we need to do it very quickly to have it so we can go in front of the committees.
Thank you, Johnny. Other questions, comments? All right, hearing none, no closed session needed today, and looks like we've got cake in the chambers room if you've got time to visit there, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. All right.